Hello and welcome back to the Daily Bread Bible Study. It is good to be with you here for day 128, Thursday, May 7th, 2020, starting 2nd Chronicles 1 through 4. Now, you've heard me say it again. This narrative arc is a long arching arc. It focused there starting with 1 Samuel and ending, with 2nd Kings there for the first arc, and now we are in the complementary arc in First Chronicles and Second Chronicles, revisiting what has happened previously in that first arc from First Samuel, Second Samuel, First Kings, Second Kings. So just a reminder that we are on the end of that. We are looking today to focus on King Solomon and go all the way through the time of the end of the kings. So we started this whole arc, there in 1 Samuel, focusing on the rise of God's king, and then now we have seen, and we'll go all the way through the end of the time of kings there for Israel and Judah. So let's jump into 2nd Chronicles chapter 1. And it begins by discussing King Solomon taking over after the death of King David. King Solomon goes to the tent of meeting in Gibeon and offers worship with an abundance of animal sacrifices. That night, Solomon speaks with God. And so in an account similar to 1 Kings 3, King Solomon prays for wisdom and understanding. God sees that King Solomon wants wisdom not primarily for himself, but for the good of the people that he rules over. God is pleased with this request and blesses the young leader. We then see that Solomon gathers horses and chariots together, which says to me that he is very wealthy indeed. I also wonder about 2 Chronicles 1:17, which says to me that the Hittites and Arameans gain horses because of Solomon. Now, is this through trade, or is this through being raided there with the Hittites and Arameans? I don't know. But in 2 Chronicles 2, King Solomon then conscripts the people to build a royal palace and the temple of the Lord. King Solomon also reaches out to the king of Tyre named Huram. If you remember, we have it in 1 Kings 5 that his name was Hiram, but his name is changed to Huram. And so that's just a small, subtle difference. There is one other helpful piece that we have here in reference to this Hiram of Tyre who helps build the temple, as described in 1 Kings 7:13. It says, "Now King Solomon invited and received Hiram of Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, whose father, a man of Tyre, had been an artisan in bronze. He was full of skill, intelligence, and knowledge in the working of bronze. And he came to King Solomon and did all his work," as it says in 1 Kings 7:13 through 14. Now, my very first impression of this, my question was, is this king, the king of Tyre, is this Hiram, the king of Tyre, is this one and the same? Did they hire the king of Tyre in order to build all of these things for King Solomon, thus emphasizing the point that King Solomon has a lot of influence and riches and can even conscript kings to do his bidding? But upon reading 2 Chronicles, we learn that one of the king of Tyre's skilled workers is named Huram Abi, thus making it that Huram Abi acted on behalf of the king of Tyre, because his name Huram Abi sounds very similar to Huram. And so this makes much more sense instead of the king doing the physical labor to build the stuff of the temple. It also then stipulates how King Solomon assigns the resident aliens to labor to build the temple and his palace. I think, it could also be argued that assigning is a generous word. Forcing might be another word that could be used here, but the perspective, I think, is positive. 2 Chronicles 3 and 4, it just repeats a lot of the specifications of the temple and its furnishings. We discussed a little bit of this in the mirror text in 1 Kings 6. And so things that are important to remember there from 1 Kings 6 is that no hammer was heard in the temple, and that there's just tons of things overlaid with gold. So anyways, if you want to go back and look over that in 1 Kings 6, I don't blame you. You can get more content from the Daily Bread Bible studies I've done previously. They are there for your access. So I hope you're able to take something out of that. If you have any questions, comments, discussion, just reach out to me. I'd love to hear what you have to say. This ends our Daily Bread Bible study for today.